Hello, Saber fans. I wanted to take a moment to show off my new saber, which I'm really happy with. It is my new favorite saber. Of course, this is a Obi-Wan Kenobi saber from Episode 4, and this particular one, the chassis was made by 89 Sabers, and I put together this a little bit differently than my other sabers, and I'm really happy with it because it makes it loud and bright and just kind of fun. Um, the perhaps probably the most interesting thing about this saber is the blade. The blade in the saber is a zigzag blade, and it has four narrow LED strips in it. So these are 6 millimeter strips, and they go. There's four of them, and instead of hooking up the data in parallel, so that they all go from the bottom and up, the data actually goes through one strip all the way up, all the way down again, and then all the way up again, and then all the way down again. So with 529 LEDs in this blade, that means a lot of data to be pushed, which is something that I had to make some optimizations to ProffieOS for that to actually work. I think my dog is probably in the frame, but she's probably okay with that. Um, so the other things that are special about the saber is that the speaker is actually located right under here. I don't know if that's very common, but there's actually a little bit more space in there, and it allowed me to use a 33 millimeters speaker, which gives me pretty loud, pretty good sound, I think. And it also let me put a bunch of LEDs here in the pommel, which I'll show off later. Finally, this saber has, well, let me show off the little bit of the other features in here. So there's the recharge port, and there's an extension cord for the USB right here. Here's the Proffie board, of course. And the extension cord comes out right here inside of the control box. So I can plug in a USB cable there and program the board and also access the SD card without even taking this off. And then on the other side of this helper circuit board that's in here, there's the activation switch right there, which is very small. And this small activation switch could normally not handle the current that's required. But there's a FET on the board that actually does the switching. And so when the switch is off, there's no current going. When the switch is on, it handles up to 4 amps, which is plenty for the board. And the FETs that are on the board itself handles the cutting off the power to the blades. So, oh, I almost forgot. Have a secret little compartment for the Allen key, because you need an Allen key to take the blade in and out on this saber, and I think that's true for pretty much all thin neck sabers. But like, I would lose this key if it wasn't inside of the saber itself. So I made a little compartment for it, and I put a little magnet here to hold it in place, so it snaps into place quite nicely. So I won't lose it. All right. So what can this thing do? Well, it can be loud and it can be bright. And the drawback of a zigzag blade like this is that the zigzag blade really does draw more power, and because of it has so many LEDs in it, it actually can be a little bit slower. It doesn't get as many frames per second as another blade, and that I think you'll probably see that there's a little bit of jank when this thing turns on and off, but there are some good things that you can do with the two, which we'll get into in a moment. So as most of you guys probably already know, I don't like a lot of menus and saving things on my saber. So for the first preset on the saber, I just have a very simple. Oh, there's my battery monitor right there that turns on for a little bit. So I just have for my preset, first preset is always this very simple movie, semi-accurate, just a very basic blade. And I'm hoping that this shows out on camera because this blade is pretty bright. And like when I did some test videos earlier, I couldn't really tell the colors very well on the blade. So I set it up so that maybe the reflection here will show what's going on the blade better. But so like I said, this doesn't actually use the LEDs that are on the control box or in the pommel. They're just off by default because I like things to be movie accurate. But that doesn't mean that we can't have some fun with it. So I made
Obi-Wan Kenobi.
My next preset is basically the same, but it also has, it lights these up when there's a clash or some other effects. And so it's pretty straightforward. It's just a little bit more blingy. And as we...
Only a Sith deals in absolutes. I will do what I must.
As we go to the next one, again, this is pretty similar, but I have an LED that moves back and forth here, and have sort of a fan-like effect over on the pommel here. So when the saber turns on, the fan starts to turn. It's meant to look like there's a light in here with a fan closer to the pommel, which sort of shades some of the light from inside. And there's actually 30 very small neopixels in this pommel, which makes the effect pretty good. So for the next preset, it's actually quite similar, but there's just 3 LEDs here. Three colors here instead. So I have a green and a blue and a red. And so when they turn on, they start moving faster. But it's basically the same effect as before. It's just more of it. And over here on the pommel, I have what I call the marble effect. I don't know if that's very accurate, but it moves kind of like if there was a marble in there, or maybe some liquid, maybe like Quicksilver or something that was like glowing. And when you turn this on, it tends to spin around. But it depends a little bit on this, on the like if you saw the first time I turned it on, it didn't turn on, it didn't spin around because there wasn't quite enough force to make it start spinning. So then after that, I have some character-based presets. So, and these ones I did because I like them and because they show off the zigzag blade pretty well. So this is a Kylo Ren unstable type of blade. And as you can see here, the different parts of the blades are lighting up independently. And I think the zigzag, this and fire blades is really what these zigzag blades are really good at. So and the other LEDs here, they're just flickering red basically. So.
There are ways those who have passed on may still guide or influence the living.
So this is an Ashoka kind of preset. I did it just because I wanted something green, and Ashoka has green sabers. And the only kind of cool part about this one is really this one, which is sort of based on a Luke saber, where that he has these LEDs on the side that just blinks red and green. And this is sort of based on that, but these LEDs just randomly blink red and green independently. And for being really simple, I actually quite like it. So it's kind of cool.
This party's over.
So then we have a Mace window preset. And of course, it has a UV meter here. So as things get louder, this goes up because it's Mace and he's cool. And then we start getting into something a little, the more silly presets. So here's the fire one, which of course isn't very realistic for a lightsaber, but sounds like fire. And this is where the zigzag blade is really cool. It lights up independently, and you get a much more detailed sort of fire look, which is really nice. And it just runs the fire presets here as well on these other LEDs. So, and of course, I gotta have a rainbow blade. So, and I made the different rainbow effects travel at slightly different speeds, so that they kind of merge and flow apart a little bit separately, which looks really kind of spacey on this zigzag blade. And so I went with a really spacey font to go with it. And I also made sure that the red, green, and blue here in the pommel lines up so that it goes around exactly and doesn't have like a cut in it or something at one particular spot.
Well, that's me all over.
And this one is really mostly a demo of the. So in ProffieOS there's been this file style for a while, and very few people have used it because it's hard to figure out. And I added a new file hum style, which is basically the same thing. And in this case, the music that's playing is actually the hum for this font, and the blade is synchronized with that.
Red, yellow, green, red, blue, 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 red, purple, green, yellow, orange, red, 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 yellow, green, red, blue, 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 red, purple, green, yellow, orange, red, red. Blend them up and body.
So it might be important to point out that this style actually lets you control each individual LED in the blade individually. This particular track doesn't do that. It's just silly, but it's really more like making a movie than anything else, and you can have a sort of a one-dimensional movie playing on your blade, synchronized with a track, or the hum. And so this one I made as a demo for the zigzag blade, but it's just really fun. So I think it's. Now, if you don't watch Despicable Me, this might not be as funny to you, but the siren effect is pretty cool, and it almost if this had more than 4 strips, it would be more obvious that it's actually rotating around the blade. But even as it is, it's pretty cool. So this one was again made to demo the zigzag blade, and I found this track on YouTube, which is this demo comes with music, so I'm gonna start the music. So it's a Carol of the Bells, and of course Star Wars. So I call this my Darth Candy Cane blade.
Jedi, prepare for death.
So yeah, I don't know how well that came across on camera, but hopefully the candy cane part came across because it looks really funny in real life. So the details isn't perfect because again I only have 4 strips in here, so it turns out a little bit pixelated when you make a candy cane like that, but it's pretty obvious what it is, so it looks pretty cool. And this is my last preset, which is just a stroboscope effect, which in the dark is painful to look at, which is kind of funny actually, which is why I like it. and I use it to scare the kids with sometimes. It's lots of fun. So that's it. I think I showed all the features of the saber, and some of those are new in ProffieOS 5.0, which is in alpha testing right now. And I will put links to my config file, which contains all the styles, and also links to the chassis and the circuit boards, and well, anything else I can think of that I used for the saber in the description. So I hope you guys enjoy watching, and I'll see you next time.